Right now, someone is in the next room, or a notification just lit up your screen, or you can hear traffic or music or the hum of an appliance somewhere in your home. You are almost never truly alone, and your body is counting on that. But what if it all stopped? What if every person, every sound, every signal that reminded you that other humans existed simply disappeared? What if you were placed in an environment where the only thing left was you? The answer is far stranger than you think, and it starts before you were even born. Your nervous system did not evolve in an office. It did not evolve with headphones in or a phone in your hand. It evolved over hundreds of thousands of years in small groups of between 20 and 150 people, almost never out of earshot of another human being. Solitude, true solitude, was not a lifestyle choice. It was a death sentence. A human separated from the group was a human exposed to predators, to the cold, to starvation. Your brain learned one thing with absolute certainty. Alone equals danger. That lesson is still running, right now, in you. Neuroscientist John Cacioppo spent decades studying what happens inside the human body when it perceives social isolation. What he found was not subtle. Within hours of perceived loneliness, your cortisol levels begin to climb. Cortisol is your stress hormone. It is the same chemical that floods your system when a car swerves towards you on the highway. Your body treats being alone the same way it treats being in physical danger, not metaphorically, chemically. The same cascade of biological signals fires in both situations. And it gets stranger. Cacioppo found that lonely people do not just feel different, they think differently. The lonely brain begins scanning the environment for threats with far greater intensity than a socially connected brain. Every ambiguous expression becomes suspicious. Every silence becomes threatening. Every small social cue gets interpreted as rejection. The brain is not broken. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do, mobilizing every available resource to get you back to the group. But what if there is no group to get back to? In the 1950s, a psychologist named John Zubek began running some of the most unsettling experiments in the history of human science. He placed volunteers in conditions of near total sensory deprivation. No light, no sound, no touch beyond the basic surface they rested on. Within hours, something began to happen that his subjects had not anticipated and could not explain. They started to hear things, then to see things, voices, patterns, shapes moving in the darkness, fully hallucinated, completely vivid, sensory experiences generated entirely from within. Your brain does not tolerate silence. It needs input the way your lungs need air. And when input stops, it does not wait patiently. It manufactures its own. The hallucinations were not a sign of madness. They were a sign of a system doing exactly what it was built to do: maintain a continuous flow of sensory experience, even if it has to invent one from scratch. This is your brain refusing to be alone, even inside itself. But here is where it gets even more complicated, because not all isolation is the same. There is a difference between solitude and loneliness, and your body knows the difference even if your mind does not always make it conscious. Solitude is chosen, loneliness is imposed, and that distinction changes everything happening inside you. Psychiatrist Stuart Hallis has written extensively on this distinction. When you choose to be alone, when you close the door to think or create or simply rest, your parasympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for calm and recovery, tends to stay engaged. Your cortisol stays stable. Your immune function remains intact. Something that could be called restoration begins. But when aloneness is forced on you, when you have no control, when it feels inescapable, the opposite happens. The threat response does not just activate, it stays activated. And a chronically activated threat response begins to do damage in ways that are slow, invisible, and cumulative. Research by Julianne Holt-Lunstad, a psychologist at Brigham Young University, produced results that genuinely shocked the scientific community when she published them. After analyzing data from more than 300,000 people across dozens of studies, she found that chronic social isolation increases the risk of early death by roughly 26%. That number placed social isolation in the same risk category as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Read that again. Being chronically alone is, statistically, about as dangerous to your body as being a heavy smoker. The mechanisms are now well understood. Long-term loneliness suppresses the immune system by reducing the production of white blood cells. It disrupts sleep at the genetic level, specifically altering how genes that regulate inflammation are expressed. It accelerates cognitive decline. It raises blood pressure. It increases the likelihood of cardiovascular disease. Your body, left without the signal of human presence, begins to slowly deteriorate as if preparing for an end it assumes is coming. Because for most of human history, it was. Think about what that means. Your immune system is not just fighting bacteria and viruses, it is also listening for the sound of other people. It is waiting for a signal that tells it, you are safe, you are connected, you can invest resources in long-term survival. When that signal goes silent, your body begins to shift its priorities. Repair becomes less important. Defense becomes everything. And this is where the ancient and the modern collide in a way that is almost impossible to look at directly. Because the environment that produced your nervous system, the one that calibrated every one of these responses, no longer exists. You live surrounded by more humans than any of your ancestors could have imagined. Billions of people. Cities packed so densely that silence is a luxury. And yet, loneliness is now described by health researchers as an epidemic. In 2018, the United Kingdom became the first country in the world to appoint a minister specifically for loneliness. Surveys across the developed world consistently show that roughly 1 in 3 adults reports feeling severely lonely on a regular basis. You can be surrounded by people and still send your body the signal that it is alone. Because the signal your nervous system is listening for is not proximity. It is not the number of names in your contact list or the count of your followers online. It is something older and quieter than any of that. It is the experience of being known, of mattering to another person in a way that is mutual, sustained, and real. A text message cannot fully replicate it. A like on a photograph cannot replicate it. Even a conversation can fall short of it if the connection underneath it is hollow. Cacioppo spent the final years of his career not studying the effects of loneliness, but trying to understand what reversed them, what actually worked. And what he found was this: the antidote to loneliness is not company. It is quality of connection. 2 or 3 relationships characterized by genuine mutual recognition could undo the physiological damage of years of social isolation. Your body did not need a crowd. It needed to believe, at a biological level, that somewhere, someone would notice if you disappeared. That is the minimum requirement written into your nervous system. Not love in the abstract. Not connection as a concept. A specific embodied sense that your existence registers in another human being. Your ancestors knew this without ever needing to articulate it. They lived it by default. The group was always there. The fire was always shared. The absence of another person was a crisis that demanded immediate resolution. You live in a world that has made that crisis invisible, routine, and easy to scroll past. Tonight, when the screen goes dark and the notifications stop and the room goes quiet, your body will do what it has always done. It will listen. Not for predators in the dark. Not for the sound of footsteps outside. It will listen for the one thing that, for hundreds of thousands of years, told your nervous system that everything was going to be all right. The sound of another person who knows you are there. And if it cannot find it, it will begin, quietly and without your permission, to prepare for the worst, just like it always has.